Leadership isn't just changing, it's evolving in ways we're only just beginning to imagine. And women, we're not playing this game anymore. We're the ones reshaping the entire field, building models, movements, and businesses that serve more than just a few. On the She Leads podcast, you'll hear real conversations with women who've broken through all kinds of barriers: revenue, identity, borders, and expectations. There's no sugarcoating here, just the truth, told by those who are living it. I'm Adrienne Garland, entrepreneur, strategist, educator, and creator of live experiences, gathering women leaders together for over a decade. And this is the She Leads podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the She Leads podcast. Before I introduce you to our next guest, I'd like to ask you to take an action to support women everywhere. If you haven't done so already, please take 2 minutes to give the show a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify. It's so important for women's visibility to share the journeys, wisdom, and lessons of the women entrepreneurs and leaders that we feature here on the She Leads podcast. And the best way to get the visibility that we deserve is to rate or review and share the show with anyone and everyone who's interested in seeing more women leaders in this world. Thank you so much in advance for helping to share our incredible show with more people. Now, I'm very excited to welcome my next guest. Her name is Melissa McCann Tilton, and she's the President and Chief Revenue Officer at Criteria, where she helps organizations unlock performance at the intersection of organizational psychology, technology, and human potential. Over the past 2 decades, Melissa has led companies through hypergrowth, transformation, and successful exits across several industries, including automotive, B2B SaaS, and marketplace businesses. Melissa is known for her ability to see patterns that others miss, and she specializes in scaling revenue and transforming culture. Today, Melissa is focused on helping leaders move beyond fear-based, outdated models of success to redesign organizations for a new era of human and machine collaboration. Her approach centers on building high-performing, human-centered environments where AI amplifies rather than replaces human capability, unlocking creativity, adaptability, and sustainable growth. Melissa tells the truth about what is really happening inside companies, offers practical frameworks leaders can actually use, and make the future of work not just more efficient, more human. Welcome to the She Leads podcast, Melissa.
Thanks, Adrienne. It's really nice to meet you.
I'm so excited for you to be here. I love the aspect of telling the truth within corporations because I feel that has sort of gone astray. And I know so many people are, I think, both worried and also optimistic about
Mhm.
what AI can do in their organizations. So I would love to sort of frame this whole conversation around women and what women can do to help leverage machine learning, AI, technology in order to start businesses, grow businesses that get past that $1 million mark more quickly, because we know that that is so difficult for most women to achieve. So
Mhm.
we'll frame all of that. So before we get there, I would love to know about you and how did you get into the incredible work that you do?
Sure. So I started out in industries that were kind of brutal, frankly. Like automotive was not an easy place to grow up in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I was running around the country trying to convince car dealers that they were going to sell cars on the internet. That was an interesting position to be in. I could write a few Me Too books probably about that experience. Picture a 22-year-old girl with braces walking into a car dealership, installing a computer system, and I had to sleep in the car dealership to get that done because there was a tape-based backup system. It's a miracle I didn't get kept.
Wow.
Sometimes I look back on these experiences and I'm like, "God, how did I survive?"
How did I survive? How am I alive? I get it.
Yeah, crazy. It was pretty crazy. But I gravitated to those industries because of my background, and my upbringing was very bizarre. I've only recently started to talk about it openly as I've been in a business environment because I think there's a little bit of uncomfortableness. It's one of the things I love about the business that I'm in right now is the concept of it's not always what it seems,
Mm.
and there's more texture underneath a human than a resume or your surface story really
Mm.
can portray. So, I grew up in a pretty chaotic environment. I understood toxic masculinity deeply. The business to me was like, "Oh, I get this. I
Mm.
totally understand this. I comprehend how to find the man in control in the room, get right next to him." And frankly, my approach was to keep the other women away. And I talk about this a little bit in the book that I'm about to publish. Like, it's a realization that I had as I went through my career. It was such a deeply ingrained pattern, and I've encountered so many other women that have worked this system in that way. Like,
Mm.
I can only be I can be the only one in the room. I need to keep the rest of you out of here.
Yeah.
An automotive is ready made for that. So
Mm.
as I learned business, I learned the mechanics of business through that lens, through that very familiar lens, the behavior or the psychology of that. But also just, I learned the math of business and I learned how to scale. But then I gravitated to more sort of aggressive industries like logistics
Oh.
and those spaces felt safe to me, to my nervous system, strangely. I think we talk about truth telling and patterns. A
Mm.
lot of the truth telling in my pattern is my nervous system felt quite safe in an abusive environment, which is terrifying to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But it was really okay, and until it wasn't okay. And then I started to gravitate into I knew I had to make a leap out of those systems. I could tell my body was eventually not going to do well if I didn't make a change.
Mm.
And I got into SaaS businesses, HR tech. But I think one of the fascinating things, your podcast focuses so much on entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
My story is so much about needing the system to feel safe. That
Yeah.
was a big deal to me. I needed the system. I needed the stability and the predictability of the system. Even if the system was broken, I understood how to work it. And I think that transition for me in the last several years has been really having empathy for the system, compassion for the system, understanding why it got to the place it's gotten to, and helping change it and helping sort of move it to a space where women can exist and humans can exist without it being such brutality, without us making ourselves sick, without us overrunning our capacity, if you will.
Okay, this conversation is going to be multi-layered. So I love everything that you just said, and it really resonates with me personally because I also understand and understood how the system worked. And I think maybe even school prepared us for that type of a system. And I was in corporate before I was an entrepreneur, and I was very successful in corporate because I knew how to play it. Right. And
Yep.
I think that other women there were other women that knew how to play it too, and then there were women that just didn't. And I agree with you that especially when we were coming up in the '90s and the early 2000s, it was very much about I'm the only woman in the room. I'm there's only a place for one or maybe two of us, and usually the other person was an HR person and I was the business person, right? And it was okay for that other woman to be an HR person. But yeah, and I was in the finance industry, so and also the media industry, so that also, very male dominated type of industries. And, again, it's like it was okay until it wasn't okay. And then when, you launch a company and you start to, want to break some of those patterns, you want to create something new, it's very difficult because you're so used to, like you said, like that system, even though it's not fair, it was a system to operate
Mhm.
within. It was the boundaries. This realization and this like pivot for you into working in some other industries that were maybe more human. What was the triggering event that you said to yourself, I need to be working in a different sphere?
Yeah, I think it started to just surface. I had been in the automotive and logistics business for almost 20 years, and I
Yeah.
was like, "If I don't get out, I'm never get." It was like a death sentence. I had to get out. And it wasn't an easy pivot. I had to convince somebody. I think there was a perception at the time that automotive and logistics was sort of behind the times, which, in some ways, yes, and in other ways, I think that those business are very hard run businesses, and you learn a
Mhm.
great deal in them. But it really took effort to convince somebody to sort of take a chance, if you will. And it was as much me as the person sitting across the desk from me. So
Mhm.
I sort of have a pattern of going into businesses around somewhere between 20 to 40 million in
Mhm.
revenue. They need to hit a point of scale. I understand the scale part. It's sort of like mom shown up and we're gonna kind of get it in order.
Here
And,
she comes.
and I yeah, here she comes. I I realized that I realized that there were a lot of industries that needed that kind of business acumen that weren't getting the right support. So HR tech was a place where I gravitated for exactly the reason you said. The other woman in the room was an HR leader, but the way that the CEO behaved was like, well, it's okay for the woman to have the HR job. And
Right.
it bothered me greatly.
Yep.
It bothered me greatly. And I think we're entering a place in business where HR becomes the main character if we do this right, if we
Mm.
do it correctly. And that's where my IO psych work comes in because there will never be a more interesting period of time than the
Yeah.
next 3 to 5 years in work history. This will
Mm.
be the most fascinating study in organizational behavior we have ever encountered. And if we don't architect this correctly, it could get really dystopian.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to. It just doesn't need to.
So say more about all of that because in my class at NYU, we're in the hospitality events management, Tisch Center for Hospitality. And we are constantly having the conversation about how AI can make things more efficient. But no matter what, hospitality is service and service is human. And so we can never lose that humanity. And we also need to be more efficient. So, can you talk about where AI is now on that, almost like the journey and where you see humanity really stepping up to the plate like you're talking about with HR becoming the main character?
Yeah. You know, most implementations of AI are mandates right now and they fail.
Mm.
That's a real thing. A lot of people are using it in pockets on their own. The more systematic implementations are still kind of struggling to stick.
Mhm.
And I think as you think about how to define the work itself, so if you think about the work itself, there's a real decision point around what is the human work, what is the AI work. And you
Mhm.
have to be conscious of the definition. If you sort of just like slap it in there, the humans become resistant, the AI gets confused. And I believe AI is not the enemy. AI will always go to the average, it will always go to an inefficient answer. It will take all of the inputs, right? It will take all of the inputs. I think it's the humans that are atop these organizations and the humans that interact with these systems that have to be cautious with how they implement, proceed. And there's a real deliciousness right now. It's like, oh, speaking of the system, it's so tempting to tip over the edge of efficiency for
Mhm.
efficiency. Well, let's just eliminate all the humans entirely. We'll let AI run all the systems. It it's appealing in a way until it's not
Right.
until it's not. Right. So I think there really are decision frameworks that we're going to have to go through in the next several years of really saying clearly that's human work, that's AI work. Here's how I hire a human that's going to be okay and successful and psychologically safe in an AI-based system because even the people you put into the system starts to alter the things that you emphasize value and you cared about in past worlds don't hold true anymore. There's an alteration to the signal and the system.
Mm.
Mm,
This is so fascinating. And my mind is sort of spinning on where to take this next because, I start thinking about the people that are currently running the majority of the corporations that are very large. And even, it extends obviously to, mm, positions of power that go beyond the corporation because the government and corporations are so intertwined, right now. And so it's sort of like if the power of this technology is being decided on like what to use and how to use it and by whom. And if those people sort of fit a certain mold that impacts the rest of us, that's where, it starts to get it's just a self-fulfilling, prophecy. The people that are in power stay in power and then technology amplifies that power and pushes us, us maybe others farther and farther away from that seat of power. How do we
mm.
I don't know if you have the answer, but what are your thoughts on how do we prevent that from happening?
I think it takes a lot of vocalization and participation. And I think women are particularly good at that and need to be encouraged to do more of that. You look at some of we're pretty involved in policy making,
Mm,
honestly. You've been involved in some of the policy making in New York City around hiring and legality and what humans do once they're employed in an organization. And you could think of AI as the next arms race right now.
mm,
There's camps of models around the world. And if you think of alignment to, you get a whole set of nations aligned to a model that
mhm,
is ours or theirs, it's the same thing as sort of like defining a whole language for a set of people.
mm,
And so there's really a lot of need for policy making and thoughtful process at the top of this. Again, not because of the AI,
right.
because of the
Of the
human.
people.
I think so let's paint two pictures. One picture is there's massive consolidation of power and wealth. And it keeps going. And there's a group of people there's a movie about this. There's a group of people who live on the moon that are super rich, and the rest of us wallow in garbage on the earth until it goes too far. And there's like it tips over the edge. I think that hopefully that doesn't happen. I think most humans will be like, okay, come on, before it gets too far.
Sure.
The alternative viewpoint on this is we have a real opportunity if we can work through our own psychology. And I really do think this is rooted in human psychology
Okay.
to reframe how work occurs. And work doesn't have to be about efficiency and effort anymore because we have such a beautiful assistant here. So our work hours can alter fundamentally. We can go to creative practices, to all of those human things that you talked about in hospitality. The interaction points can
Mhm,
become richer, they can become longer because we're not doing all of this administrative burden, calculating, all of those things. It can be a real human renaissance.
mm,
But but to get there, I think this is the most important part of all this. It's not just the system design. We inside ourselves have to redefine how we think of success because so many of us are hardwired to believe that I am only worthy when I am productive.
yeah,
And that will become the wrong metric. Productivity is cheap in the future.
mm,
Nobody cares if you send an email at 3 a.m. because the AI can do it.
mm.
So it's a fundamental psychological shift for the humans involved in the system. And if we can't let it go, we'll cling to it and we'll create the dystopian reality.
I love what you are saying. It makes my heart happy to think that humans can be more human. And go back to what made life so beautiful, like, and messy in a lot of ways too, because there was a lot of experimentation there. There was a lot of, especially during, some of the times when, like, the great novels were being written and the great, art was being created, and those conversations that happened in, the Paris cafes. I think that if this can push us toward more connection with one another, sharing creative ideas with one another instead of just pouring those ideas into some type of an AI model asking us, like, does this sound right? Does this sound right? What do you think of this? I think that, yeah, we can create something that is new and that nobody has thought of before. I think this is going to be a humongous shift, and it's funny because I think the pandemic gave us a taste of what a new type of work could be,
Mhm.
and it also placed a lot of undue burden on caretakers to because everything shut down, right? So now not everything is shut down, but that flexibility, that ability to work however, wherever, whenever, that that remains, right? And so companies that want to go dial it way back to before pandemic, I feel like they're making the wrong decision. But there's something valuable about companies wanting people to come back together to interact with one another in a shared space. There's something good about that.
Mhm. There's I don't remember exactly when it was published, probably a couple of months ago, Wall Street Journal article that did a study on return to work mandates
Mhm.
versus people actually showing up in the office. Now, I would define a return to work mandate as I've implemented a system where I'm checking your badge to see if you're showing up. There's no real connection purpose to showing up to work. I haven't defined a purpose, an agenda. I just want you here. I want to see you in front of me
Yeah.
because it's an old system. It makes me feel comfortable,
Right.
right? It's an old system and it makes me feel comfortable. I want to see my people.
Yeah.
For
Okay,
what
king.
reason?
Yeah.
Give me a reason. Give me a reason.
Right.
So the study shows this, return to work mandates just going up and to the right. It's just rising, rising, rising. And you watch the actual return to work statistics. And each time a large company mandates, you see a bump up and then it just declines again, a bump up and then it just declines again. People are like, I want flexibility.
Yeah.
I want the flexibility of, I want to be productive and I want to have a balanced life. And I don't think those two things need to be at odds, but it ties back to that psychology piece of my goodness,
Yeah.
you've got to be able to let that go as your definition of worth. Output, what you actually produce from an outcome perspective is the important thing, not just that you did a bunch of stuff and you
Right.
showed up for a lot of hours.
Yeah, which was the measure, or it was the map for how to be, like you're saying, successful. And now if we as humans define success as having more creative time, right? We
Mhm.
all we all need income in order to, purchase the things that maybe make our lives a little bit easier. So there's that piece of it, but it doesn't need to be this grind, this commute, this always on, because you're saying that the technology allows for some of those menial tasks that we had to do and had to be there for and had to type in and do. The AI can take those things away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you think about growth as something exclusive of pure efficiency, right? Efficiency works when you have a system that's fairly optimized, you've done the creative thinking, you've proven that a thing works, and then you repeat it for a while.
Yeah.
But even in those efficient systems, you have to break them once in a while.
Yeah.
If you don't break them, you get stuck. And you can look at a zillion companies out there where they stopped putting time into creative mode. Kraft Heinz is a really good example where their stock dropped massively in the last few years because they stopped investing in creativity and they really doubled down on that spreadsheet management efficiency side of things,
Hmm,
and the brands wandered off. And
interesting.
there's a lot of examples of this. I think solopreneurs have to face this more frequently.
Mhm.
But I think once you get in bigger systems, there's really a tendency to get trapped in the efficiency and you just forget to be creative. You don't value the time and space to allow a human to be thoughtful, to close their eyes for a minute and actually think. Like
Mm.
sometimes I really will close my eyes. One of one of the guys on my team that we've worked together for years. We've worked at a couple of different companies together. And I'll close my eyes and think, sometimes because I have an ocular migraine.
Yeah.
But but it's like your brain works differently,
It
right?
does. Yeah.
It just functions differently when you're not jacked into a computer system. So
Mm.
understanding the balance of how to partner with AI,
Mm.
how to leverage those moments to grow even more with less pure efforting, I think is the future.
Hey everyone. So, for years, I've been working with Dr. Kent and sending people in my network his way. He does so much impact work. What do I mean by that? Well, he helps people create books and podcasts and things like that. He even helps with this podcast behind the scenes. Dr. Kent is my thought partner. Anyone listening knows that we all need to do what we can to get our thoughts, opinions, and voices out into the world, and how important it is for women to invest in other women and for women to hire other women. I am all about that, and you all know that. But in this case, I think Dr. Kent is an exception. He's doing something really different via this new program that he's launched called the Genius Discovery Program. So he wants to work with people like me and like you who are impact driven. Dr. Kent has an intensive program that goes for a month. He also has a 3-month program where he figures out where you're headed with your brand, your business, your speaking, and your signature story as a thought leader. I've known Dr. Kent for a long time. So believe me when I say that he has a ton of experience working with people that are looking to make an impact but might not know exactly how to approach that. So if you're interested in talking to him, you can go directly to talktokent.com, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at She Leads Media, or just shoot me an email over at hello@sheleadsmedia.com. Do you think that, I mean, to me, I hear a lot of hopeful possibilities in everything that you're saying. And I'm wondering to myself, does that mean that perhaps companies get smaller, but there's more of them and they solve other types of problems that aren't being solved right now? So there's more choice, there's more opportunity. And second part of that is, does that then create more opportunity for women to start these smaller businesses, but still overall be contributing a significant portion to the overall economy, really?
Yeah, I think again, it could go in one of two ways. And if you look at how GDP has grown in the last several decades, but like 2%,
Not much.
and there's a lot of projection that GDP grows at 100% with AI alongside of it.
Mm,
Like it could be mind-blowingly different.
mm,
So I think whenever you have that kind of expansion, it always can go in a couple of different ways. It could be a huge consolidation of power. I think we have to really guard against that. Or it could be a beautiful distribution
mm,
of power. I think that requires access to the models. I think it requires access for people to be able to hire the right way, find the right people, do retraining programs, be really thoughtful about how the workforce is designed in the future, how humans fit into it. Because without those programs, you've got entire populations of people that haven't had these interaction points with this kind of solution.
right.
I have a 23-year-old son. I have 4 kids, 23 to 7.
Girl, what?
But so it's an interesting observation in like all levels of reality in child life, right?
Yeah.
And my 23-year-old is a junior now in college. He has one more year after this, and he- he's really terrified
Yeah.
of
They
getting a job.
yeah, they all are. Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a real palpable fear
Yeah.
in this generation coming out of college right now of never being able to be employed, almost to the point of like, I don't know, I give up. I don't know what do I do? Just
Right.
like you can't crawl into a ditch and die. We have to like decide how to navigate it. But I think that the rules are changing so rapidly for these young people that trying to figure out how to navigate the system is just broken. It's broken. So
Yeah.
as women are starting businesses and we're in businesses that are already existing, I think to have voices that are saying, look, we're really smart people. We have a lot of information.
Mhm.
We don't have to design a broken system going forward.
Yeah.
The system is going to be so fundamentally disrupted
Mm,
that we can change the rules right now.
mm. That's
So we
music to
should
my
change the
ears.
rules.
Let's change the rules. Oh gosh. I almost feel well, I want to address two things. First of all, 100% yes on the young people that are coming out of college now. I said to my undergrad students the other day, like I had the realization you came into college thinking that things in the world was a certain way and you're
Mhm.
graduating and the world is completely different. So you've been training for the world that was, certain. I mean, everything changes, right? But it was a little bit more certain when you came in as a freshman. You're coming out and it's like you were in in a hole for 4 years because
Light years different.
yeah, so everything that they learned about how to network and, how to get an internship and all of that stuff, it's all different, and we actually had a guest speaker last night, actually somebody that was on the podcast, she's amazing. And she was talking to the students about, now is the time to experiment. Now is the time to be bold and to try something that no one else has done before because quite frankly, companies don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a moment for creativity, right?
Yeah.
It really is. And it was interesting. Our CTO, who is brilliant guy, came through a very unconventional career path.
Mm,
Super unconventional career path, like just sort of creative, worked a network in a different way. And I tell my oldest son about him all the time.
mm,
Like, don't be defined by the thing you think has existed before because the rules are all shattered.
yeah.
So so I think there's a real freedom to that if we can allow ourselves to be freed. There's also, I think, a real anxiety that I want to acknowledge around that freedom.
Yeah. A
If
100%.
if you've lived in this system, as I have for a really long time, like it takes a pretty major event, I think, for most people to knock themselves out of their patterned behavior,
Yeah.
because it does, even if it's terrible, even if your pattern's terrible, it feels familiar, and familiar is way safer
Yeah.
psychologically than the unknown.
Yeah.
So I think, I've certainly gone through one of my experiences that knocked me out of this is my best friend who I encountered in work. We could not, when we met each other, be in the same room together. We were both very big, super young, super attractive. Oh my God, we were so cute. Not be in the same room together that we were like, no, you're not allowed in here. And my husband was the one who actually connected the friendship. And we both had this very bizarre background
Hmm.
that you don't typically encounter in a corporate space. We
Yeah.
became close. And then she passed of cancer in 49 in 2023. So it was literally a near death experience. Like that to me was a near death experience. And the whole family, like everyone around us had this moment of like, what are we doing?
Right.
What are
Wow.
we doing? Wake up. And
Yeah.
after that, I could be in rooms with women, and I understood the the service, the duty to each other of supporting that because we were literally making ourselves sick. I mean, through the lens of just the grind and staying in that system and the compromises we had to make to be successful. It was like,
Yeah.
why don't like why? Stop it. Stop
Yeah.
it.
And right.
So,
And it doesn't work for us. And we do have the opportunity to create entirely new, not even business models and not even corporations. Like maybe there's a different sort of description, definition, word for what women are going to create. And I've been thinking about this for such a long time. And I went through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, which was incredible. However, what we were taught, and even maybe even the way that I teach entrepreneurship, is that there's a way. Here are companies that are successful. You need to pattern your company and the way that you do things based on these models of success. Well, those models of success are built for certain people doing things in a certain way. Now,
mhm.
and when women, I thought about this so much at the Gold with the Goldman Sachs program, because when women build companies patterned to not support who they are as human beings, it's like that's why women don't get past $1 million in their business, because we're building something that's not meant for us. What the hell are we doing? So we need to do something different, but nobody knows what that different is. So maybe this
Mm,
is the moment. And if I had the answer, I would be a wealthy woman. But, have you seen what some of these other types of models of business could be? Just to give
yeah.
everybody some ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that I do in my business right now is help people hire. And I think hiring is a really important aspect of building a business and being able to get past $1 million. I find that a lot of people who are stuck in one of those sort of scale knot holes,
Yeah.
the challenge is they're trying to keep their hands on all the dials and knobs.
Okay.
And you can't do it. You've got to make yourself, I say, try to make myself irrelevant.
Yeah. Yes.
I have no assigned work. The work is assigned to everyone else in the system. And it allows me to come into the system and see the whole thing as
Mm,
I've designed it,
love it.
not be trapped in it, right? Because you get like trapped down in those dials and knobs. Then you have this fear and anxiety of if I take my hands off the knobs, it's all going to fall apart.
Yep.
So think about hiring for a moment, old world, new world, because I think this is a good concrete example. And it's one of these things where you can create a framework for this portion of running business. Therefore, it gives you hope. You can create a framework for the other portions of running business.
Yeah.
So prior system, if you think work 3.0, which was the work we were doing before, we were hiring based on resumes, pedigree,
Mhm.
credentials,
Mhm.
find work experience. I need you to have touched these systems, done these things, punched these knobs before so you can punch these knobs again.
Yep.
So the way that you hire for somebody in that world is you read a resume, you conduct an interview, usually unstructured, you conduct an interview and you make an offer and 40% of those people blow up in the first year.
Okay.
And that's okay. In the system, it's like a good retention statistic in our world,
Big,
and I don't know how it got
terrible.
to be a retention statistic, and it's not because the people are failures. I think that's the real shift. The people aren't failures, it's a bad fit,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the things I've had to learn too. Like, certainly, I've been in jobs where I'm like, "This is a bad fit. I should leave."
Yeah. But you don't
Because
know until you're there in it, doing it, and then you're like, "Oh."
when then you feel like you can't give up.
Right.
Like, "I've gotta make it work.
Yes.
I've gotta make it work," and you're tortured. It's, like, terrible. So I think if you think about those Work 3.0 frameworks, moving now to Work 4.0 frameworks, the things that are going to help are adaptability,
Hmm.
your ability to learn, your ability to be creative in a system, your ability to consume change.
Mm.
So you're hiring more generalists. You're hiring people who can think through a set of systems, not just repeat a set of actions.
Yeah.
And the way that you get to those signals is fundamentally different because now we're in a world where I literally can generate an AI resume for every single application without looking at it. I can just give it instructions, make a resume for all these jobs, apply, and then I get a phone call later and I don't even know I've applied for the job.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But it's the system we've put
Built.
these new hires into.
Yeah.
So when we start to think about reframing that as women who are hiring people for adaptability, for these broader skill sets, we're looking at cognitive ability, at broader skill sets, like not pedigree, right?
Mm.
It's the way that I got into business. I shouldn't have been sitting in the seats that I was in based on my background
Mm.
in the system that I existed in. I was able to navigate that through being really freaking smart and pretty good at saying words. But I think that there's a lot of people who need a broader set of entry points, and, almost 70% of candidates right now are like, the resumes BS.
Yeah.
Like, why are we doing this? So I think those systems just start to change, hiring is one, and then you think about the actual work frameworks that we're plugging people into. We used to measure pure productivity. We're probably going to measure amplification of human agent interactions.
Mm.
So, so this is the other advice that I'd give women. AI doesn't create efficiency. AI creates amplification.
Mm. I haven't heard
So
that.
if you have bad judgment in your system, if you have people who are making decisions that don't function, that don't fit with your culture, that don't sit right with the type of business you're trying to run, the AI will amplify the bad decision.
Hmm. Interesting.
It'll also amplify a good decision, though.
Right.
So a whole idea, and I think that's why you can get that kind of GDP growth with AI alongside of you. The whole idea is to create a core system, a core methodology, a set of thoughts, belief, structures, core tenets that you want to amplify.
Mm.
And if the
Mm.
core isn't right, you're going to end up with a bad result.
Mm. And do you also think that focus for companies to solve, real problems that either, real businesses or real people are facing, where do you think that that fits into some of these core values of the company that you want to amplify?
I think there's I think there's a lot of opportunity. You hear some of these stories. I'll contrast this for a second. You hear a lot of these things on LinkedIn where there's like some, like tech bro that's like, I started a company with two people and AI, and you can get kind of down the road with that. But I think it sort of sells papers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it functions in the long run. So I do think you think about the applications in the medical world with AI, a lot of the things that are
Yeah.
being brought to humanity are quite positive. But also, most of the data is telling us, there's a case study about radiology, where as we've solved more problems in radiology, we're hiring more radiologists than ever.
That's amazing.
It doesn't necessarily take the human out. It's a design question. And I
Mm.
think there need to be more people I encounter a lot of people who are just being reactive
Yeah.
because I have a mandate. I have a mandate. I have to use this. But if you really sit and are thoughtful with the process, there's a real opportunity, I think, for women to get further in their
Yeah.
businesses
Yeah.
faster
Yeah.
as long as they stay true to their core. Now, if you start to just like go, okay, I'm going to just catch this fire over here, that it's that efficiency sort of deliciousness of the CEO. I can't help myself. I'm going to make a bunch of money. And you'll make a bunch of money for a minute, but then you're going to have to figure it out on the other end.
Yeah, it's gonna stall. I really like that a lot, and I think the challenge for women is because for so long we have been told or conditioned to actually not trust ourselves, our intuition, that we also have to do some work on getting back to ensuring that the decisions and the things that we think about and the stuff that we observe, that it's true. And we should start building things around that and not allowing others that are in power telling us, no, 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 you don't do it like that. Right?
There's the rules. This is the moment to break the rules.
Love it.
This because it really is hitting a tipping point of you can't deny it anymore. I
Mm,
think one of the things that I learned through my friend passing and just watching so many other people around me, both men and women, frankly, in corporate environments that were just getting sick and not being able to function. Literally, our bodies were getting sick.
yeah.
I think there's a real tension in the denial of your personal truth.
Mhm.
It shows up in your body
Yeah, it's
eventually.
disease. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you just keep pushing it down and pushing it down, and it's gotta either come out or it's gonna, fester, and I totally agree with you, and so maybe this technology will help us to be more human. That's all I can hope for.
Strangely, I think it's the catalyst that allows that human renaissance.
Mm,
We had to sort of get to the robots
yeah.
before we could have the space to see our humanity again because we were so lost in that sauce.
Well, I think that I could talk to you forever because I think we have a lot of philosophical things to discuss. So I would love
You'll have
to,
a lot.
yeah, I would love to continue our conversation, but maybe on a round two.
Yeah,
But let's end it there with the robots showing us our humanity because I love that. I love that
great.
thought. Melissa, thank you so much. If people want to reach out to you, talk to you, get in touch with you, how can they do that?
They can reach me on Instagram at Melissa McCann Tilton, LinkedIn, same thing, Melissa McCann Tilton. And you can, of course, go to criteria.com. We have a great candidate experience report that we run twice a year that really gives a lot of good statistics on how to navigate those frameworks in hiring. And I think that's one of the most important things we can do for people right now is give them dignified work.
I love that. We will include all of that in the show notes because I do agree that that is going to be very helpful, especially for incredible women entrepreneurs and leaders that are growing their businesses. And, I've said it before, but like the $1 million mark is not a vanity metric. And I hope women get way past that. But it's so that, when we have access to wealth and resources, we do really good things with it in the world. And it is really all about humanity. So I just really, really appreciate everything that you've shared with us today. Your intelligence it's just making me think about so many different things. And I feel so hopeful after our discussion. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great.
If this conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently, please take a moment to leave a 5-star rating and review. It's not just about boosting the show, it's about amplifying the voices of women entrepreneurs who are leading with vision, building with purpose, and shaping what's next. We need more of these conversations in the world right now, don't you think? And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who matters to you, send this episode to them. If there's something on your mind about leadership, legacy, or what's next, I want to hear it. Head to sheleadsmedia.com/voice and leave a voice memo or note. Your insight might just help shape a future episode. Make sure to follow the show and come back next week for more conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Thank you so much for listening. This is the She Leads Podcast Network.